The first time I ruined the yearbook, I did it by being helpful. That was the part nobody cared about after the boxes arrived from the printer, after 200 glossy copies were sliced open in the library, after everyone saw the senior leadership spread with Bianca Vale's portrait printed above the caption, "Most likely to smile while stealing your future." They remembered my login on the final file. They remembered my initials in the caption history. They remembered Bianca standing in front of the yearbook table with one shaking hand pressed to her mouth, tears spilling perfectly down her cheeks while she whispered, "Why would Mia do this to me?" They remembered the principal holding up the page like it was evidence in a murder trial. They remembered my scholarship committee being told I had used a school publication to harass a classmate. What they did not remember, because I had erased it before anyone else saw, was the photo beside that caption. Not Bianca's official portrait, the polished one with soft lighting and a pearl clip in her hair. The candid photo beneath it. The one from Community Service Day. The original showed Bianca in the background, half reflected in the glass trophy case, holding my open yearbook laptop while her best friend Talia leaned over the keyboard. The screen was tiny, blurry, ugly, and distracting, so I fixed it. I cleaned the reflection. I sharpened the foreground. I removed the messy glare because good editors make pages beautiful. By doing that, I erased the only proof that Bianca touched the caption file before I was blamed for it. She knew I had fixed the photo because she watched me do it. She smiled at me afterward and said, "You're so talented, Mia. You make everyone look better." 2 weeks after the scandal, when my university recommendation was withdrawn and my mother stopped looking at the yearbook because my name was printed in the staff credits like a confession, I crossed the road outside the printer's office in the rain. The van did not stop in time. My last thought was not regret. It was that I should have left the ugly reflection alone. When I opened my eyes again, I was not on wet asphalt or in darkness. I was in the yearbook room, alive, with a cursor blinking under Bianca Vale's senior portrait. My hand was on the mouse. The air smelled of dust, instant noodles, and the hot plastic scent of the old laminator someone had left on. Outside the narrow windows, afternoon light spilled across the courtyard in gold sheets. On the whiteboard, written in purple marker, was the deadline that had killed me once. Final captions due Friday 5 p.m. 3 days before the print lock. 3 days before Bianca changed her own caption through my account, then cried like a saint at distribution. My throat closed. I looked down at the screen. There she was, Bianca Vale, head girl, debate champion, charity ambassador, smiling with that clean, expensive softness adults called grace. Under the photo was the placeholder caption I had written in the first life before everything twisted, most likely to lead with kindness. I almost laughed. Kindness. In my first life, I had believed kindness was something beautiful people naturally had because the world rewarded them for it. In this life, the word looked like a trap with flowers on it. My phone buzzed beside the keyboard. A message from Bianca. "Hey Angel, can you smooth my candid later? The reflection makes my face look weird lol." I stared at it until the letters blurred. The reflection. She already knew. Or rather, she remembered the same sequence of events because she had planned it, not because she had died. I did not reply. I saved a copy of the file under a new name, yearbook_final_do_not_ich. Then I saved another under a name nobody would click unless they were desperate, canteen_menu_backup. Bianca Vale was not the loudest girl at St. Aurelia's College. Loudness was for people who had to prove they were in the room. Bianca entered rooms already expected. She had long black hair that fell like silk down her back, large calm eyes, and a smile that made teachers lower their voices, as if they were speaking near stained glass. Her father chaired the Alumni Foundation. Her mother organized the annual charity gala. Her older sister's portrait hung near the library entrance under the words Rhodes Scholar Finalist, which Bianca passed daily as if walking beneath a family weather system. Students called her Queen Bee, but never to her face. To her face, they said Bee, or Bianca, or You're amazing, and waited for her to decide whether they were useful. She never snapped if a whisper would do. She never pushed if a suggestion could make someone else shove. She never dirted her own hands when she could make you believe holding the shovel was an honor. I was the yearbook's layout editor because I liked clean margins, quiet rooms, and making scattered things look like they belonged. Bianca had made me feel chosen in the first life. She praised my eye for design, sent me coffee during deadline week, asked my opinion just enough to make me forget she never took it. Then she used my account, my helpfulness, my need to make pages perfect, and my scholarship status to turn me into the obvious villain. Why would Bianca sabotage herself? Everyone asked. Why would Mia have access? Everyone answered. The logic was lazy, but lazy logic is enough when it flatters the powerful. The first rule of my second life was simple. Do not make the page too clean. That was harder than it sounds. My fingers itched every time I saw a crooked line, a color imbalance, a bad crop. The candid photo on Bianca's page was objectively messy. It was taken during community service day in the school foyer, where Bianca stood in the foreground pinning a volunteer badge onto a Year 7 student. The official story was perfect. Beloved head girl mentoring younger students before leading a fundraiser. Behind her, the glass trophy case reflected half the yearbook table, including my laptop, the open caption document, Bianca's shoulder, and Talia's hand hovering over the keyboard. In the original, the reflection was blurred but recoverable if someone cared enough. In the edited First Life version, I had removed it entirely because it made the page look cluttered. This time, I opened the original file and duplicated it 3 times. One copy stayed untouched. One copy I enhanced carefully, increasing contrast around the reflection, but not enough to look suspicious. One copy I placed in the layout exactly as it was, glare and all, while my whole designer's soul screamed. Then I changed the caption. Not the cruel one. Not the placeholder. I typed, Bianca Vale, head girl, pins a volunteer badge during community service day, moments before the senior yearbook captions were finalized in the foyer. The sentence looked harmless. Boring even, but it placed time, place, and context next to the photo. It tied Bianca to the moment. It made the ugly reflection part of the story instead of a defect. I sat back, breathing slowly. The best revenge, I was learning, did not always roar. Sometimes it captioned accurately. The second rule was to stop being the only person who knew how the yearbook worked. In my first life, Bianca framed me because I was convenient and isolated. Everyone trusted me to handle the final file, which meant everyone trusted me enough to blame me alone. This time, I made accountability annoying and public. At the next meeting, I asked Mr. Ellis, our advisor, whether we could introduce final caption approvals through email instead of verbal comments. He was a tired English teacher with a cardigan permanently dusted in chalk and a heroic ability to misunderstand technology. Is that necessary? He asked, already afraid of the answer. Bianca looked up from her phone, smiling. Mia, just like systems. Her tone made systems sound like a childhood illness. I smiled back. Yes. Systems prevent mistakes. Talia snorted softly. I continued before the room could slide away. We're printing names, quotes, awards, captions, and superlatives. If anything is wrong, we need to know who approved it. Mr. Ellis rubbed his forehead. Reasonable. Bianca's smile did not change, but her phone stopped moving. So, every senior signs off their page? For portraits and captions, yes, I said. Final PDF sent to each student. They reply approved or corrected. No approval, no change unless Mr. Ellis signs it. Marcus from photography, who had no stake except hating rework, immediately said, Please. I'm tired of people saying their hair looked different spiritually. The room laughed. Mr. Ellis agreed. Bianca's eyes met mine across the table. They were not angry yet. Interested. That was worse. A queen bee does not fear a locked door until she has tested the handle. On Wednesday, Bianca came to the yearbook room alone. That was deliberate. She never arrived alone unless she wanted privacy or witnesses she could later invent. I was checking club pages, leaving the bad reflection visible in her candid like a small beautiful crime against design. She shut the door behind her, softly. Mia, she said, can we talk? In my first life, those words from her made me sit straighter, eager, flattered. This time my pulse kicked once and settled. Sure. She leaned against the table, school blazer folded over one arm, white shirt sleeves buttoned perfectly at the wrist. I saw my draft. Good. Approval emails go out tomorrow. Her lips curved. The candid is unflattering. You look fine. The background looks messy. It's a candid. Could you clean the reflection? It makes the page look amateur. There it was. The old hook. Not hide my evidence. Make the page professional. She knew how to speak my weakness in its own language. I looked at the screen, then at her. I'm leaving candids mostly untouched this year. Mostly? Color correction only. She tilted her head. That's new. New policy. Your policy? Yearbook policy. Her smile sharpened, almost imperceptibly. You know, sometimes you make things harder than they have to be. I had heard that sentence in many forms from many dangerous girls. It always meant, stop making it difficult for me to use you. Sometimes things are hard because they matter, I said. Bianca laughed softly, like I was charmingly dramatic. Then she reached over and touched the edge of my laptop. Just one finger. Not enough to do anything. Enough to remind me she could. Send me the file tonight, she said. I'll mark what I want fixed. Through email, I replied. With Mr. Ellis copied. Her finger left the laptop. Of course. But she did not say thank you. That evening, I did not sleep. Instead, I built the archive I should have had the first time. I exported every major layout as a watermarked PDF. I turned on file version history. I changed my password to something Bianca could not guess from my birthday or my dog's name because I no longer owned a dog, but in my first life, she had still tried. I enabled two-factor authentication through my mother's number, which meant at 10:48 p.m. she came into my room holding her phone and asking why a 6-digit code had appeared. Yearbook security, I said. She looked at my laptop, at the dark circles under my eyes, at the open folder labeled canteen_menu_backup. My mother was a public hospital receptionist, which meant she had seen every type of panic dressed as normal. Is someone trying to mess with your work? She asked. I almost said no. The old Mia would have protected Mum from worry because she was always tired, always one extra bill away from rubbing her temples at the kitchen table. But the old Mia had died with her mother believing she had raised a daughter careless enough to be cruel in print. Maybe, I said. Mum sat on the edge of my bed. Then don't just be right. Be recorded. That sounds like something from a crime show. It sounds like reception work. If it isn't written down, someone will say it didn't happen. She handed me her phone, so I could enter the code. And eat something. Revenge on an empty stomach gives you headaches. I had not told her it was revenge. Maybe mothers hear the word even when daughters swallow it. By Thursday, the yearbook room had changed temperature. Approval emails went out, and students reacted exactly as expected. Some replied with thumbs up, some asked for chin edits, some wanted quotes changed from inspirational to funny and back again within the hour. Bianca replied at 11:06 a.m., copying Mr. Ellis as required. Approved except candid photo reflection should be cleaned for visual quality. Caption is too specific. Suggest, Bianca Vale welcomes younger students during Community Service Day. It was polite. It was reasonable. It was a knife in a velvet case. I replied, thanks. Because the image is a candid, only color/light correction will be applied. The caption identifies event and timing accurately. Mr. Ellis replied with the technological confidence of a man using one finger to type. Fine by me. Good work. I saved the thread. At lunch, Talia cornered me near the lockers. Talia was Bianca's best friend the way a shadow is best friends with a wall. She was sharp, pretty, nervous under the polish, always laughing half a second after Bianca, like she needed permission to find things funny. You're being weird about B's page, she said. In the first life, Talia had helped change the caption, then cried during the investigation and said she thought I had approved it. I looked at her now and wondered when loyalty had become fear. I'm following policy. She rolled her eyes. It's a yearbook, Mia, not national security. Then Bianca won't mind the original photo staying. Talia's face flickered. Tiny. There. The reflection looks ugly. So does lying. I had not planned to say that. It came out quiet, clean, and much sharper than intended. Talia stepped back. What's that supposed to mean? I smiled. That captions should be accurate. She left quickly. Too quickly. The attack came that afternoon, but not where I expected. Bianca did not touch my laptop. She did not change the file under my login. She had already learned the door was locked. Instead, she used the oldest weapon in school politics, concern. At 3:20, Mr. Ellis asked me to come to the staff room. His cardigan was inside out at one sleeve, which meant he was stressed. Deputy Principal Lang sat beside him, with a printed email on the table. My stomach clenched. Mia, she said, a concern has been raised that you may be using the yearbook process to target a student. I looked at the printout. Bianca's email. Not the approval one. A new one. Dear Ms. Lang, I'm uncomfortable saying this, but Mia has seemed fixated on keeping an unflattering photo of me in the yearbook and changing my caption to imply I was involved in editing at a specific time. I don't want to assume bad intentions, but after past tension over leadership selections, I feel unsafe with her controlling my page. The language was perfect. Not accusation. Concern. A silk bag full of broken glass. In the first life, I would have defended emotionally, which would have made me look exactly like the girl Bianca described. This time, I opened my folder. I understand the concern, I said. Here are the approval policy, the email thread, the original photo, and the caption rationale. The caption describes the event because the photo was taken during caption finalization. If Bianca prefers no candid, we can remove the candid entirely and use only her official portrait, but I don't recommend editing the background selectively. Ms. Lang looked slightly annoyed that I had arrived as a filing cabinet. Mr. Ellis looked relieved. That seems fair, he said. Ms. Lang studied the photo. Why is the laptop visible? Because it was in the foyer during community service day. Can you identify what's on the screen? My pulse tapped once. Careful. Not from the layout version. The original resolution might show more, but I haven't enhanced it for publication. That was true enough. Ms. Lang looked at me for a long moment. Do not make this personal, Mia. I met her eyes. I'm trying to make sure it can't become personal later. That night, Bianca changed tactics again. At 9:13 p.m., someone attempted to log into my yearbook account. The two-factor code went to Mum's phone while we were watching a cooking show and pretending either of us cared about pastry. Mum looked at the notification, then at me. That yours? No, good. She screenshot it before I asked. The login location was inside the school network. After hours. My stomach went cold. Bianca had access to the building after hours because her mother was helping decorate for the alumni brunch. In the first life, I had never seen the login attempt because two-factor was not on. She must have entered easily, changed the caption, then let the file history point to me. This time, the door held. I forwarded the login alert to IT and copied Mr. Ellis, writing, I received an unauthorized login attempt to the yearbook account tonight. Please preserve logs before final print. Boring language. Calm language. A flare disguised as a memo. IT replied in the morning with the worst sentence in any institution. We will look into this. I did not trust that. So I did what yearbook girls do when adults move slowly. I made a spread backup, printed thumbnails of every final page, and asked Marcus from photography to verify the image numbers against his camera archive. He arrived chewing gum, glanced at Bianca's candid and frowned. Why didn't you use the sharpened one? What sharpened one? He opened his archive. There were two versions of the candid, the original from Community Service Day and a sharpened export created on his camera laptop the same day. I cleaned the background a little, but didn't finish, he said. Then B asked for a copy for Instagram, and I sent it to her. My skin prickled. Did the reflection show more? Yeah, actually. You could see your laptop screen. Weirdly clear. He clicked the file. There it was. Bianca in the glass, Talia beside her, my laptop open, and on the screen the caption field under Bianca's portrait highlighted. The cursor sat inside the line. The timestamp embedded in the photo, 12:41 p.m., Community Service Day. 6 minutes before the malicious caption appeared in the first life. I did not cheer. Proof never feels like fireworks when you have already lived without it. It feels like a locked room opening and showing you the bones. Marcus leaned closer.
Wait.
Is that Bianca using your laptop? I kept my voice low. Can you export the original metadata? Why? He looked at me, then at the photo, then at my face. Marcus was not stupid. He was simply allergic to drama until drama had file names. Oh. Don't send it to students, I said. Send it to Mr. Ellis and Ms. Lang with the original file attached. Say we found a higher resolution version relevant to the caption dispute. Relevant, he repeated. That's a fun word for somebody's cooked. Marcus.
Fine.
Professional. He sent it while I watched. Then I saved a copy to my archive, printed the image contact sheet, and resisted the urge to do what First Life Mia had done automatically. Fix the glare, crop the mess, make the page beautiful. The photo was ugly. The truth often is. I left it ugly. More than that, I changed the yearbook caption again, one final time, and submitted it to Mr. Ellis for approval. Bianca Vale welcomes younger students during Community Service Day. Original candid retained per yearbook authenticity policy. The glass reflection captures the yearbook table during final caption work. It was not an accusation. It was a door left open with light spilling through. Mr. Ellis stared at it for a full minute when I showed him. That's unusual. So is the photo. He sighed, rubbed his face, and said, I am too close to retirement for this. But he approved it pending Ms. Lang's review. Ms. Lang did not reply for 4 hours. The confrontation happened in the library, not the yearbook room. That mattered because Bianca loved rooms where she controlled the audience, and the library belonged to Mrs. Hahn, the librarian, who could silence a football team with one eyebrow. Ms. Lang called me, Bianca, Talia, Marcus, Mr. Ellis, and Mrs. Hahn to the archive table after school. Bianca arrived with her mother. Of course she did. Mrs. Vale wore cream trousers, gold jewelry, and the expression of a woman accustomed to turning complaints into donations. Talia looked sick. Marcus looked thrilled and was trying badly to hide it. On the table lay 3 printed images, the edited layout proof, the original candid, and Marcus's high-resolution export. Ms. Lang began carefully. A concern was raised regarding the yearbook caption and candid photograph on Bianca's senior page. During review, a higher-resolution version of the candid was located. Bianca's mother smiled tightly. And why is my daughter's page being investigated as if she committed a crime? Mrs. Hahn, without looking up from the archive log she was pretending to write in, said, because someone tried to log into Mia's account after hours. The cream trouser smile faltered. Ms. Lang shot Mrs. Hahn a look. Mrs. Hahn ignored it. Bianca's eyes were fixed on the high-resolution photo. For the first time in either life, I saw her understand that beauty could betray her. Not because the photo was unflattering, but because it had looked in the wrong direction. That reflection is distorted, she said softly. It could be anyone. Marcus, unable to help himself, said, it's literally your hair clip. Mr. Ellis whispered, Marcus. Marcus raised both hands. Professional silence, starting now. Ms. Lang asked Talia whether she remembered being at the yearbook table during Community Service Day. Talia's mouth opened. Bianca turned her head slightly, not a full glare, just enough pressure for years of friendship to become Elise. In the first life, Talia had lied smoothly. This time, the photo lay between them like a third girl, silent and undeniable. We were there, Talia whispered. Bianca's mother said, girls stand near tables. This is absurd. Ms. Lang tapped the image. The laptop appears open to the senior caption document. Mia leaves her laptop everywhere, Bianca said, too quickly. I did not speak. Silence is not always surrender. Sometimes it lets other people fill the room with rope. Ms. Lang looked at me. Mia, did Bianca have permission to use your laptop? No. Did Talia? No. Did either of them request changes through the approval process before today? Bianca requested photo cleanup and caption simplification by email. She did not request access. Ms. Lang turned to Bianca. Can you explain the after-hours login attempt? Bianca's mother leaned forward. You cannot prove that was Bianca. Not from this photo, Ms. Lang said. Then she placed a new printout on the table. The IT log. Failed login attempt. School network. Device registered to the Alumni Decorating Committee sign-in. User. Beaded Veil guest access. Time. 9:13 p.m. Bianca's face went still in a way tears could not fix. Her mother inhaled sharply. Talia began to cry. Marcus whispered, "Oh, that is crisp." And Mr. Ellis kicked his chair leg. Bianca did not confess. Girls like Bianca rarely confess when denial still has furniture to hide behind. She changed the story. I was trying to check my page because Mia was making me uncomfortable, she said, voice trembling. I didn't know it would look like hacking. She kept refusing to fix the photo. She made the caption weird. I panicked. Her mother immediately softened. Exactly. This is a student under pressure trying to protect herself from editorial bullying. There it was, the reversal. She had been caught touching the lock and called herself trapped. Ms. Lang looked tired, but tired adults sometimes choose the easiest emotional explanation. I felt the old timeline leaning in. The scandal could still soften into misunderstanding. The yearbook could quietly change. Bianca could survive as anxious victim. I opened my folder and took out one final page. Not a screenshot. A printout of Bianca's message from Tuesday. Hey Angel, can you smooth my candid later? The reflection makes my face look weird lol. I placed it beside the high-resolution photo. Bianca knew the reflection mattered before the caption dispute, I said. She asked me to smooth it before any approval email, before any claim that I was targeting her. She did not say the caption made her uncomfortable until after I refused to edit the reflection. Bianca's eyes flashed hatred at me so raw, it almost felt honest. Ms. Lang read the message. Mrs. Vale's lips pressed flat. Talia wiped her face with both hands, then whispered. She said if the reflection stayed, people would overthink it. Everyone looked at her. Bianca turned slowly. Talia. Not loud. Terrifying. Talia flinched but kept going. She said Mia always fixes things, and we just needed her to make it look normal. That's all I knew. I didn't know she'd blame Mia. The room changed. Not explosively. Structurally. Like a wall finally admitting it was a door. The yearbook did not go to print that Friday. That was its own earthquake. Students complained because they wanted signing day. Teachers complained because delay meant more emails. Mr. Ellis complained because he had already planned to spend the weekend gardening and pretending teenagers did not exist. Bianca disappeared from school for 2 days. Talia gave a formal statement. IT preserved the logs. Ms. Lang reviewed the first life crime before it could happen in the second life. The account attempt, the photo, the approval emails, the reflection, the messages. But there was a problem. Bianca had not actually changed the caption this time. She had tried to access the account, yes. She had stood at my laptop earlier, yes. She had pressured me to edit the photo, yes. But the malicious caption, most likely to smile while stealing your future, had not appeared in this timeline. I had stopped it before it became official. Part of me worried that meant she would escape with a warning. Then Marcus found the draft. Not in our yearbook system. In a note shared between Bianca and Talia, recovered only because Talia, in the panic of half-confession, showed Ms. Lang her phone. There it was, written 3 days before print lock. Swap caption after Mia exports. Make sure history shows her login. Then act shocked at table. Under it, Bianca's reply, only if she refuses to fix photo. If she fixes it, no proof anyway. Reading that line felt like being hit by the van again, but this time from the inside. If she fixes it, no proof anyway. She had understood me that well. She had known I would polish away my own defense. I had mistaken helpfulness for goodness. Bianca had mistaken it for a predictable weakness. We were both wrong, in different lives. The school wanted to bury it. Not completely, but tastefully. Tastefully is how institutions hide teeth marks. Ms. Lang called it attempted publication sabotage. Dr. Avery, the principal, called it serious misuse of student media processes. Bianca's mother called it teenage anxiety under competitive pressure. which made Mrs. Han mutter something about competitive pressure not usually requiring forged login attempts. Bianca was removed from the yearbook leadership feature and lost her head girl commendation paragraph, though her official portrait remained because the yearbook was still a historical record and, as Mr. Ellis said weekly, we cannot pretend she did not attend.
Fine.
I did not want erasure. Erasure had nearly killed me. I wanted accuracy. So her page stayed. The candid stayed too, but not as her personal highlight. It moved to the yearbook production spread under a section titled Behind the Pages, How We Made the Book. The caption, approved by every adult with enough anxiety to read it 5 times, said, during Community Service Day, the yearbook table operated in the foyer while senior captions were being finalized. This candid image later prompted the staff to strengthen approval, login, and photo authenticity procedures. It did not name Bianca. It did not accuse. It did something worse for her. It made the photo part of official memory. Her reflection remained visible, small but undeniable, in every printed copy. Not front page scandal.
Permanent contexte.
Distribution day arrived 2 weeks late under a sky so bright it made the library windows glare. In my first life, that day had been a public execution disguised as celebration. Students lined up laughing, flipping pages, shrieking over bad hair, begging for signatures. Then Bianca found her caption, cried, and the laughter sharpened into judgment. This time, the yearbook table was arranged under Mrs. Han's supervision, which meant no one touched boxes without signing a receipt. Mr. Ellis looked like he had aged 5 years and developed a spiritual relationship with file backups. Marcus wore a shirt that said Kerning Matters, which nobody understood and everyone respected. I stood behind the table handing out copies, my hands steady until the first book opened to the senior section. Bianca was there, still beautiful, still printed, but quieter on the page. No leadership tribute. No full spread halo. Just her portrait, her clubs, her awards, and a neutral caption under her official photo. On the production spread, the candid sat among other behind-the-scenes images, students stacking books, photographers crouching on staircases, me adjusting a layout on my laptop, the foyer reflection preserved like a small ghost. Students noticed slowly. That was the best part. There was no assembly announcement, no dramatic speech. Just heads bending over pages, fingers pointing, whispers gathering. Wait, is that Bianca? Is that Mia's laptop? Is that why the yearbook got delayed? Rumors are usually monsters. Sometimes, if fed enough truth, they become witnesses. Bianca arrived late to distribution, surrounded by no one. That was new. In the first life, she had entered with Talia and half the senior leadership circle, ready to perform betrayal. This time, Talia was shelving returns in the library because Mrs. Han had adopted her into community service with the grim tenderness of a woman rescuing a cat from a drain. Bianca wore her uniform perfectly, hair clipped back, face pale but composed. Students watched her without pretending not to. She collected her copy from Mr. Ellis, not me. For a moment, I thought she would walk away. Then she opened to the production spread. Her fingers stopped on the candid. Her face did not crumple. Bianca was too disciplined for that. She looked at the caption, the reflection, the tiny preserved version of herself reaching toward my laptop. Then she looked up at me. In her eyes was not remorse, not even fear. It was fury at being recorded in a way she could not beautify. She walked toward me, yearbook held against her chest. "You must be proud," she said quietly. The library hushed in that animal way schoolroom's hush when drama walks upright. I kept my hands on the table. Of the yearbook? Yes. Her smile was thin. You know what I mean. I know lots of things. You wanted everyone to see that photo. I thought of First Life Mia, sobbing in the bathroom while people signed yearbooks around her scandal. I thought of my mother reading the disciplinary email. I thought of the van, the rain, the ugly reflection I had cleaned into oblivion.
No, I said.
I wanted everyone to see what happened before the story became yours. Bianca's eyes flicked around. Too many witnesses. Too many books already open. No clean place to cry. She leaned closer. People will forget. Maybe, I said. But the yearbooks won't. That landed harder than I expected. Her fingers tightened around her copy until the glossy cover bent. Talia apologized to me in the archive room later that afternoon. Not in the dramatic way people apologize when they want absolution as quickly as possible. She stood in the doorway for almost a minute before speaking, one hand gripping the strap of her bag. I should have said no, she said. I was sorting leftover page proofs into labeled folders because apparently trauma had not cured my need to organize paper. Yes. She flinched, but nodded. I was scared of her. I know. That doesn't make it okay. No, the silence that followed was not comfortable, but it was clean. Talia looked at the folder in my hands, then at the old yearbooks lining the shelves. Are you going to hate me forever? In my first life, I would have rushed to reassure her because other people's discomfort felt like a task assigned to me. This time, I slid the proof into its folder before answering. I don't know. Forever is a long time. For now, I don't trust you. Tears filled her eyes, but she did not argue. That mattered. Fair, she whispered. Then she took out a small envelope. I wrote down everything I remembered. Not just the laptop. Other stuff. Things Bianca asked people to do. I did not take it immediately. Give it to Ms. Lang. I did. This is a copy for you if you want it. I looked at the envelope. Evidence had weight even before touching your hand. Put it in the archive case folder, I said. Not my bag. She almost smiled. Still systems. Especially systems. She placed the envelope in the folder. We did not hug. Some endings should not pretend to be softer than they are. Bianca's consequences were strange, because they were not as dramatic as her crime deserved and yet, for her, devastating. She kept her place at graduation because schools prefer not to explain empty chairs. She lost the charity ambassador speech, the alumni award nomination, the student leadership testimonial, and the glowing university reference her family had practically pre-written. Her mother fought every decision until Dr. Avery reportedly asked whether the family would prefer the matter referred outside the school because unauthorized account access and attempted publication sabotage sounded less charming in external language. The fighting stopped. Bianca moved through the final weeks like a girl walking behind glass. Some students still defended her. It was just a yearbook, they said, as if reputations are not built from paper. Mia overreacted, they said, because people who benefit from silence always call documentation excessive. But more students stopped laughing at her little comments. They stopped treating her suggestions as weather. They started asking, why, when she told them to do things. That one word weakened her more than any punishment. Why do you need my login? Why should we crop that? Why can't we copy the advisor? Why are you upset if it's harmless? Bianca had ruled by making questions seem rude. The yearbook made questions fashionable. As for me, I did not become universally loved. That would have been suspicious and exhausting. Some people avoided me because they thought I kept receipts on everyone, which was not entirely false, but also not my hobby. Some teachers praised my maturity, which made me want to ask why maturity was always awarded to students after adults failed to protect them. Marcus nominated me for editor-in-chief for the digital supplement, then told me not to let the power corrupt my margins. Mrs. Han asked me to help create a yearbook archive procedure, including raw photo preservation, caption approvals, and access logs. Mr. Ellis wrote my recommendation letter himself and included the sentence, "Mia understands that design is not decoration but responsibility." I read that line 3 times. It did not erase the first life. Nothing could.
But it stitched something.
Mum framed my copy of the yearbook staff page, the one where my name appeared, not as confession but credit. She placed it on the shelf beside my primary school art prize and a chipped mug I made when I was 9. "You always made messy things look clear," she said. I leaned against her shoulder and thought, not always. Sometimes I made messy things too clean. Sometimes I removed the reflection because beauty asked nicely. Never again. The last time Bianca spoke to me was on the morning of graduation rehearsal. The auditorium smelled of polished floorboards and flower arrangements. Seniors shuffled in rows, practicing how to walk slowly without looking like they were thinking about walking slowly. Bianca found me near the side aisle, where I was helping Marcus photograph candid rehearsal shots for the digital supplement. She stood beside me for a moment, watching students cross the stage. "My mother says your family must be thrilled," she said. "About what?" "The recommendation. The scholarship. The little victory lap." There was bitterness in her voice, but it sounded tired now, like even bitterness required more audience than she had left. I adjusted the camera strap. "My family is relieved. You act like I tried to ruin your life." The old Mia would have stared at that sentence in disbelief. The reborn Mia understood denial is sometimes not a strategy, but a home people refuse to leave. "You did," I said.
She looked at me then. "No theirs. No es mine."
Just a girl who had been reflected too accurately and hated the mirror for doing its job. It was a caption. It was my name. Her mouth tightened. "You could have just fixed the photo. None of this would have happened." There it was, the closest thing to a confession I would ever get. Not "I am sorry." Not "I lied." Just "you could have made my lie easier." I lifted the camera and took a photo of the empty stage, because I needed somewhere to put my hands.
"That's why I didn't," I said.
She walked away before I lowered the camera. Graduation passed without scandal, which felt almost anticlimactic until I realized peace often does. The speeches were too long. The flowers made 3 people sneeze. Mr. Ellis cried during the staff farewell and blamed allergies, even though everyone knew he was emotionally unstable around metaphors. Bianca crossed the stage to polite applause, chin high, her family clapping hard enough to bruise the air. I crossed later for the Visual Arts and Media Award, and Mum stood before she remembered parents were supposed to stay seated. People laughed warmly. I did too. After the ceremony, students signed yearbooks in clusters across the lawn. I wrote careful messages in margins, left space around photos, watched ink dry. Talia asked me to sign hers. I wrote, "Choose courage before evidence has to rescue you." She read it, swallowed, and nodded. Marcus wrote in mine, "Never trust auto-crop." Mrs. Hahn wrote, "Archives are where truth waits for brave timing." Mum wrote on the inside back cover, "Your name was always yours." That one undid me. I had spent 2 lives learning that a name can be stolen by a caption, dirted by a login, hidden by a polished page, and returned by an ugly photograph left alone long enough to speak. I closed the book gently. It felt heavier than paper should. That night, I opened the archive folder one last time. The original candid, the enhanced reflection, the approval emails, the login alerts, the IT report, Talia's statement, Bianca's message asking me to smooth the reflection, the draft note planning to swap the caption after export, evidence of a future prevented, and a past only I remembered. I did not delete everything. Some records belonged to the official archive, and I had learned not to confuse healing with making proof disappear. I moved the necessary files to the yearbook case folder, backed up the policy documents, and deleted the private duplicates from my desktop. The final file on my screen was the first life layout proof I had recreated from memory. Bianca's portrait, the cruel caption beneath it, the cleaned candid where the glass showed nothing but empty shine. I stared at that blank reflection for a long time. It was beautiful, balanced, professional, a perfect lie by omission. Then I selected it and pressed delete. The screen asked if I was sure. I thought of rain, of glossy pages scattered on library tables, of Bianca's tears turning a room against me, of the van headlights burning white. Then I thought of the second yearbook, imperfect and honest, carrying one ugly reflection that saved my name. I clicked yes. The first time, I fixed the photo and let the lie become beautiful enough to print. The second time, I changed the caption, left the reflection raw, and never again mistook clean design for truth. Because sometimes the proof is not hidden in what you add. Sometimes it is waiting in the flaw you finally stop erasing.